Jai Guru, and good morning to all of you. We'll close our eyes for a prayer to start this meeting today. Thinking of God, thinking of my Param Gurudev, Baba Hariharananda Ji, and my Gurudev, Baba Pragyanananda Ji, and bowing to them and bowing to you all. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavabahai, Tejasvi Nabadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May God allow us to enjoy together. May He protect us. May He allow our discussions to be sincere and faithful to exert together. May there not be any discord amongst us. May there be peace. Om. Amen. Good morning again. I am Amit Chatterjee, and I'm happy to be with you this morning. And I also take this opportunity to wish you all a very happy New Year 2023. Gurudev always reminds us to be aware of how time is passing by. One more year has gone by, and we might be tempted to look back at the year and think of the things that could have gone better. But a spiritual seeker is always optimistic, hopeful, and forward-looking. So as we sit here at the beginning of the year, I think it's also a good opportunity for us to think of the year ahead, to contemplate on what is the goal of life and what is the right attitude to live in this life. I'm really glad that you have taken this opportunity to join this talk this morning. I'm grateful to you. And today in this talk, we will discuss a bit about what is the goal of life and how are we to play this life, to go through this life well, what kind of attitude we should have. And we'll discuss how we might adopt some of that in the year ahead to make our life successful, to make this year successful. God, gurus and our sages say that this life is a divine play. God was alone, and He decided to create this world of multitude so for His own enjoyment. With His own inexplicable and mystical power, Maya, He projected this world from Himself for His own enjoyment. Everything in this world is nothing but God. Hariharananda Baba used to say, there is no non-God, but the veil of Maya covers that truth and projects this reality we experience as the world. In Bengali, there is a beautiful song to the Divine Mother, whose words say that, Ma tumi apni nacho, apni gao, apni dao ma korotali, chidananda moi kali. O Divine Mother, you are infinite consciousness and bliss incarnate. This world, the dance in this world is nothing but you. You are dancing, you are singing, you are also enjoying and applauding. It is nothing but you. God is known as Maya Adhisha, or the Lord of Maya. God is aware of this divine play. We, on the other hand, in this universe, are Maya Adhina, or under the spell of Maya. We are ignorant of who we are. We really are divine, but we have forgotten that. We find ourselves to be limited, imperfect, prone to disease and death. And we are constantly seeking completeness and fulfillment through our endless desires and the incessant actions to fulfill them. We carry on like this in life, but we do not find lasting happiness. In fact, most of the time, we are miserable with our own situations. Sage in Mundaka Upanishad uses a beautiful phrase to describe our state. He says, we are nimagna, engrossed in this world, in this body. Anishaya sochati muhyamana. We are helplessly suffering and grieving in our own delusion. The endless search for fulfillment never ends, but life itself ends one day. But the unfulfilled desires lead to the next life, and then to the next life, and to the next one. And so we trudge along endlessly in this play of the God, of the divine. God actually created this play for the sole reason that each of us, in our own pace, would realize who we really are. That is the goal of life. Tattam asi, that I am that infinite. When we realize that, then the spell of Maya is removed. We realize that we were always that infinite, ever-fulfilled being. We had just forgotten that. And in that realization, in that glory, all the suffering, all the misery of the world disappears. So that is the goal of life for each one of us, to realize who we really are. Until we are not able to understand that, this game of life continues. So if this is a game, if this is a divine play, then what are the rules of the play? Is there even a manual created by God to help us understand how we are to play this game well, how we are to play to win? Well, there is one manual, at least one. It is the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a small book of 700 verses. And through the flow of chapters, there are many verses which clearly and succinctly call out the rules of the game of life. We miss noticing them. Those words are from God himself. And if we are just attuned with those words, then we can find a way to play this game well. So today I will pick one such verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which exemplifies, which lays out what is the game of life and how to play that well. We'll discuss that, and we'll figure out, or we will discuss how to adopt that in our daily life. Now, the Bhagavad Gita, you are aware, is a dialogue between a prince, Arjuna, who at the beginning of a war is despondent. He has forgotten, he has lost sight of his goal in life. And his conversation is with Sri Krishna, who is his cousin and a friend. And Sri Krishna is trying to remind Arjuna what the goal of life is and how he should navigate that. So the entire book is a set of dialogues like that at the beginning of a war. There are 700 verses, of which 574 are from Sri Krishna, 84 from Arjuna, and a few, 41 from Sanjay and 1 from Dhritarashtra. So in this book of dialogues, the text clearly calls out who says what. For example, when Arjuna speaks, his words are prefaced by the text Arjuna Uvacha, or Arjuna says. But when Sri Krishna speaks, the text doesn't say Sri Krishna Uvacha. The text says Bhagavan Uvacha. Bhagavan is God. Gita clearly underscores the fact that the lines are from God himself. Gurudev shares a beautiful story that I remember that I'll recount for you. Once, after the big battle of Mahabharata was over, long after that, Draupadi and the Pandavas were spending some time with Sri Krishna. And Draupadi asked him that at the beginning of the war, you said something to Arjun. We are curious to know what you might have said, which inspired him to shed his despondency and fight the battle so well. And Sri Krishna smiles and says, I do not remember what I said. I was in a state of yogastha, or absorbed in yoga, when I said the words. I do not remember them now. So Sri Krishna clearly once again hints that the words were from God. But we may have a question here, that if Sri Krishna himself is a divine incarnation, a self-realized perfect incarnation of God, and God is omniscient, how is it that Sri Krishna does not remember what he said? Gurudev explains that in this world of Maya, even the divine incarnates, they hide their incarnation to a large extent. In the Bhagavatam itself, there is another story when Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, learns from Balarama that Sri Krishna is eating mud or soil. She runs to him and says, Sri Krishna, are you eating soil? Krishna shakes his head and says, no. She says, open your mouth. Sri Krishna, has his lips pursed and just shakes his head, no. And then he eventually opens his mouth wide. Mother Yashoda looks inside, and with big eyes, she's amazed. She's seeing the entire cosmos there. She's struck with awe, amazement, and fear. And Sri Krishna then realizes, oh my God, if I continue in this state, then the divine play will end. She will not get the joy of being the mother, of being my mother. And I, although I'm beyond mother or father, will be deprived of the joy of a loving mother who pulls my ears when I am naughty. So Sri Krishna closes his mouth and plays with Yashoda in such a way that she forgets the entire incident. So this is the play of Maya. When Lord Krishna, Sri Krishna spoke the Gita, he was in a state of yogastha, united with God in yoga. And in that state, he was not Sri Krishna who was playing out a mortal life, a human life. He was not the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. He was not the one raised by Nanda and Yashoda, not the cousin and friend of Arjuna. He really was God speaking. So this is the beauty of the Gita, that when we are confounded with life and we look to find how to play this well, we forget that God has left the rules for us to contemplate and apply in our lives. So today I have chosen a verse 47 from chapter 2 of the Gita. I'll share that verse with you. And this is a very popular verse from the Gita, so popular that even school children, they are aware of this world, and many of them know this verse by heart. I'll chant the verse. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhuhu ma te sangosta karmani. Karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhu ma te sangosta akarmani. The literal translation of this verse says, you have the right to do work, but you should not cherish any desires for the fruits of your work. Do not let the fruits of your action be your motivation, nor be attached to inaction. This verse, just this single verse, is actually the essence of karma yoga. And we will try to understand this verse. But while this verse is one of the most popular verses of Bhagavad Gita, it is also one of the most controversial, the least understood verse in the Gita. In India, there are some political parties which say that, look, this verse, this very verse, shows that Gita is a book of the capitalists, that the proletarians are to work, but they cannot enjoy the results of their work. Ma phaleshu kadachana. It is only the capitalists which reap the rewards of their effort. Those who understand this smile And in humor, they say that at least they opened the Gita to read a verse. They could have simply declared the book to be untouchable. So it is true with the Gita that many of the verses are difficult to understand. And there is a reason for this. There is a Kriyavan in Bengal from long ago, Kumarnath Sudhakar, who had written a Gita in verse form in Bengali. There he has a line which says, Gita Khando, Ikhudondo, Gilile Ashadnai, Guru Pashe Boshe Boshe, Shoroshe Chibano Chai. Gita verses, he says, are like a piece of sugar cane. If you just swallow that piece, you will not get the taste. It'll actually harm you. You got to chew it slowly, deliberately, and enjoy the divine taste of that piece of sugar cane. So also the Gita. If you just read the Gita or just go over the literal translation, you might not grasp the real meaning of what God himself is trying to say. That is why we need the company. We need to be a disciple of a realized guru who has lived these verses through his or her experience and are able to explain that to us. We are indeed fortunate that our lineage of masters, and most of them, have written commentaries on the Gita. Sri Guruji, my Gurudev, he himself has recorded more than 400 hours of explanation of the verses of the Gita, and they are available in the discourse series at kriya.org. You can subscribe to those for your own study. If the Bhagavad Gita were the words of God to Arjuna, then our Guruji, who is also a self-realized person, is also God to us, and he explains the Gita to us. So Sri Krishna as God explains to Arjuna, and Guruji as God explains the meaning of the Gita to us, makes it easier for us to contemplate on it. So this verse, if you look at it, the 2 lines of the verse, if you break it up into a quarter each, it talks about 4 instructions. Let me move to the next slide. There are 4 things called out in this verse, and there lies the entire play of this world. Karmani eva adhikaraste. Do your duty. You have the right to actions. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Do not be concerned about the fruits of your action. They are not for your enjoyment. Ma karma phala heturbhu. Do not be motivated by or be the cause of the results of your work. Mate sangasto akarmani. Do not be attached to inaction or wrong action. Once again, 4 instructions from God about how to play this life well. And this is the essence of karma yoga. Karma means action, and you can imagine actions lead to results, and results here are termed as karma phala, or fruits of karma. So karma and karma phala. So with that, we will discuss these 4 quarters of the verse one at a time in a simple manner, try to understand the deeper meaning of it, and then try to see how we can live this. So the very first quarter says, Karmani eva adhikaraste, that you have right as human beings to your actions. Now, this itself is clarifying, because we often feel that, is our life predestined? Is everything happening according to fate and we are helpless? Look, here God clearly is saying that in this game of life as human beings, you have the choice, you have the right to what actions you make. You have free will, you have free choice. And it is quite clear in our own experience. For example, today you chose to attend this talk. That was your choice. There are many who have chosen not to attend this talk. That was their choice. And even though you're attending this talk, if you do not like it, you can simply move on and stop the talk. So we do have choices. But choices also have consequences, especially if you leave this talk. So that is the rule of karma yoga, that we are free to do choice, we are free to do actions, but the actions have consequences, which will also come back to us. So that is essentially what the first verse is saying. In this context, it is also important to talk a little bit about the broader context of creation. Gurudev, Guruji explains that in this world, only human beings have the right to both experience their past karma and to create new actions which will lead them to self-realization. Lesser beings like animals and plants, they cannot do new action to progress spiritually. They can only experience the result of their past actions. Likewise, even celestials or higher beings, they are so engrossed in enjoying the good merits of their good karma that they actually do not find time or do not do new action to progress spiritually. They can do some bad actions, but they're mostly enjoying the fruits of their actions. In this creation, it is only human beings that can experience, that can exhaust their karma and do new karma to progress forward. Animals and plants, they are just experiencing what they have already done. Celestials are also just experiencing what they have done. And once that experience is over, they have to come back to human life to progress further. So this is amazing. You can realize how special this human birth is, that we in this game is designed for us. Our path to self-realization has to progress as human beings. At this juncture, I would also call out that karma itself, our action, has a deeper meaning. It is not just the action that we do with our hands and feet or with our body. It includes actions through our spoken words. It includes actions as thoughts that we think in our mind. So karma is both all actions done by the body, by the mind, and through our speech. We really need to understand this, because for everything that we do, there is also a result. So now let's come to the next verse. The first clearly said that we have next quarter. The first clearly said that we have the right to choose our action. The second one says, ma phaleshu kadachana. Although you have right to do your action, you do not have right to the results that you will get, or you do not have the right to enjoy the results that you will get. This is mysterious. Let's delve into it. First of all, notice the use of two words in this verse. One says karmani, which is action, which in Sanskrit is singular, is referring to a single action. But then it uses the word phaleshu, fruits of action, and that is in plural. So God here is seemingly saying that for every single action that you do, there will be multiple fruits as a result of that. Let us take a simple example. Let us say a farmer decides to plant a mango seed or a mango stone. He takes that seed and plants it and ensures that it gets proper sunlight and water and nourishment. And in time, the seed sprouts into a little plant. He takes care of the plant, protects it from the elements, from the pests, from the animals. And the plant then slowly grows up to a big, independent tree that is able to take care of itself. But after this, nobody knows how many fruits that tree will give. It'll probably give many fruits over many seasons, but maybe in some seasons, the flowers will wither from storms and wind, and there will be no fruit or less fruits in a season. So you see, the results of planting a single seed leads to many fruits, but nobody knows how those fruits will come through. There is some unknown factor in this world, and we attribute that unknown factor to God. It is said, God decides the fruits of our actions from the actions themselves and from the context. And then he dispenses those fruits over our lifetime, over many lifetimes. Hence, Anything that we are experiencing now is a result of our current action, as well as actions that we might have done in the past or even in our past lives. As human beings with limited faculty, we cannot fathom how these actions are being laid out. It is God who is laying them out. So that is why this verse says that ma phaleshu kadachana, you do not have right to the fruits of your action. So this verse, then the first line explains the rule of karma yoga, that we have right to actions, but we do not have right to the fruits of the action. So, but one other thing to remember over here is that God is not whimsical. He is not biased. He is simply giving us the fruits of the actions that we have done. We are not punished or rewarded by God. We are punished or rewarded by the consequences of our own action. This is very important to comprehend, that in our life, whatever we are experiencing is the result of our own action. But loving God has beautifully laid out the actions, the fruits of the actions, in a manner that allows us to progress right from here to our spiritual goal if we play this game well. So that is the first line of the verse. Now let's take a look at, so the first line essentially talks about the rule of karma yoga. You have right to actions. You do not have the right to the fruits of the action. But then the question is, how then should we act? How then should we play this game of life so that we will reach our goals successfully? The next line in 2 quarters calls that out. The third quarter of the verse says, Karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. And then the third quarter, ma karma phala heturbhu. This verse, this part can be interpreted in 2 ways. One interpretation, the common interpretation, says, do not be motivated by the results of your action. And a deeper interpretation says, if you rearrange the verse, and it becomes ma bhu karma phala hetur. Ma bhu becomes don't become. Don't become what? Don't become the cause of the fruits of your action. So one says that do not be motivated by the results of the action. The other interpretation says, do not be the cause of the results of your action. And actually, if you think more deeply, you will realize that both of them mean the same. Let's take a simple example. Let's say you are to appear for an examination or a test. You prepare well for the test. You do your best. You write the test. And then after that, the results come out. Now, since we have discussed that there are some unknown factors which play into our results, the result may not be what you had in mind. It may be worse, or it may be better than what you expected. If it is worse, we typically feel sorry. We keep thinking back about how the result could have been better if we had done this or that. We don't realize that that test is done, it is done, it is done. There is no way the results can be changed. Sure, we can take the learnings that come to mind and move forward to apply them, but there is no way that we can change the result that we have gotten. So being sorry about that result, constantly wishing that the result was different, is not going to do us any good. In fact, in that effort to change what cannot be changed, we may do more action which will bind us. Likewise, if the results were better than what we expected, it is quite likely that we will be proud, and in our ego, we might do a set of actions which will also bind us. So God says, ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhu. Do not be motivated by the results, and do not create more results. Do not be the cause for the results of your actions. So this is how what God is saying, but this itself sounds like a riddle. That on one hand, God is saying that you're free, you have the choice, you have the right to do any action that you want. And we know actions will lead to fruits. But then he seems to say, do not be the cause of the fruits of the actions. So how are we to do actions, but then how are we to not become the results of the fruits of those actions? This is the beauty of life. This is the mystery of life. Gurudev explains that there is a simple trick. The only way that we can prevent ourselves from becoming the cause of our own action is to do that action in God consciousness, to not have a sense of doership that I am doing it. Just that simple trick. If you do the actions with that awareness of God consciousness, then the results will not bind you. This is the essence of Kriya Yoga. If you remember what we have learned from our gurus, Kriya is Kri plus Ya, work done, realizing that it is the power of God which is acting through us. So Kriya Yoga is essentially a foundation of what God is saying. That look, think of your life and think of the situations of your life as duties that you must do, but do those tasks for the sake of the tasks, for the duty alone. Do not be attached to the results of the action. So that is this beautiful third segment of the verse, Ma karma phala heturbhu, do not create more action that will bind you. And the last part of the verse is simple now, Mate sangasto akarmani, normally translated to say, do not be attached to inaction. But the word akarma, is a negative. Akarma also means negative karma. So God just explained that do actions in God consciousness. That is the right karma. That is the right way to progress. Do not do the opposite of that. That is, do not do work with a sense of doership, or do not do work forgetting God. So then this is the interpretation of the complete verse. Let's review that again. God is essentially saying that you have the right to do actions, but you do not have rights over the results of the action. Do not do action to create more fruits that will bind you, and do not do negative action or inaction. So essentially, God is essentially saying that, look, whatever situation that you face in your life, your health, your opportunities, your relationships, even your miseries, they are the results of your past actions. God has simply arranged them in a beautiful manner to create a platform for you that you can go to self-realization right from here. All you have to do is to be aware that this is God's play. God is working through you. God is helping you. God is waiting for you to do the right action and cheering for you. All you have to do is do the action in the right manner, and you will progress to self-realization. So how then do we contemplate on this and bring this verse into our daily life? I'll share a simple story that exemplifies this whole verse. This story is from the life of Param Gurudev, Baba Hariharanandaji. This was in the 1970s. Baba Hariharanandaji was away from Puri for a month, and he was living in Kolkata in a rented ashram. And there was a brahmachari who was with him, who was cooking for him, helping him, and generally taking care of him. And one day, some sadhus, some monks had come to visit Param Gurudev, and the brahmachari prepared some meal for them. He cooked the meal was ready, the food was ready, they all prayed to God, and all took the meal, the food, and after some time, the guests left. Now the brahmachari is asking Hariharanandaji that, Baba, I had cooked the meal, but how was it? Was the taste good? Did I put the right amount of salt and spices in that? How was it? I'm worried that it might not have come out well. Now, this kind of doubt was customary of that brahmachari. But this time, a God-realized master, Baba Hariharanandaji, chose to answer him in a different way. Baba said that, look, why do you keep saying you have cooked the meal? Can a dead body cook a meal? And then why do you say that? Why are you worried about the result? Did you not pray to God when you cook the meal? Did you not pray to God before offering the food to the guests? After that, let the guests think of God and take the food. Why are you needlessly worried about all of this? You see, what a beautiful example. And this plays out in our life all the time. We are spiritual seekers. We pray to God. But often, so often, after anything that we do, we are beset with self-doubt. That would we do it well? Could we have done something differently? We forget that God and gurus are teaching us that pray to God, think of God, do your best action, and then forget about the results. Let the results be whatever God and gurus desire. They are now consecrated. Whatever we get back as results are like prasāda that we get back from God. Simply take the prasāda and be blessed. So this is known as prasāda buddhi, and it's the attitude for right action. So very simply said, the right approach for us, first of all, is to first realize that everything in our life, every situation, our happiness, our joy, our miseries, our difficulties, our opportunities, are results of God arranging the fruits of our own actions in a beautiful manner, designed for us to go forward from here in our quest for God. So we are not to blame anybody for our life situations. It is our own actions. God has simply laid them out for us. God is with us. He is watching us. He's waiting for us to take the right action. So realize that this is all the glory of God. Our situation, however we find ourselves to be in, is the glory of God. Next, whatever comes in front of us as tasks to do that for God alone, not for our own selfish fulfillment. This play is a play of God. He has laid out in front of us the tasks that we are to do. Do them for God alone. Do them in the best possible manner. Do them for God. And then finally, dedicate the results to God. God will judge our actions and give us the fruits of our actions. And then we are simply blessed to get back those fruits, those prasāda. They are a blessing for ourselves. They are a blessing for all those who we share our lives with. So if we just do things in God consciousness, always remembering God is with us, do the actions for God, and then simply let the results be with God, then life becomes beautiful. At this point, I will also call out, as we come towards the end of the talk, that if you notice the last verse of the last quarter of the verse, Mate sangasta akarmani, God simply says, do not do wrong action. Wrong action is to simply forget God. But it is beautiful that, here God does not say, and this is the beauty of God's play. He never says that he is going to punish us for wrong action, that he is going to send us to hell. He just does not say that. He says, you have the right to do the action. Just do not do wrong action. Now, what happens if we do wrong action? Let's say we are engrossed in sense enjoyment, in world enjoyment. Is that wrong? Nothing wrong at all. The world is there for our enjoyment. We can certainly enjoy the world. God says, go right ahead, enjoy the world, enjoy for the rest of your life. Why that? Take more lives, keep doing it. It's only if someday you feel that you're not progressing towards the goal, then remember my words. So our actions simply prolong the game of life. It is only when we heed to the actions and do it in God consciousness, then we take the path to God realization. So this is the beauty of the verse. And as Kriyavans, this is natural to us. If you think about our Kriya practice itself, our gurus teach us that we have 7 chakras in the body. The 5 chakras, lower 5 chakras, are to engage in the world. And the upper two chakras are for divinity, to find God. And our gurus teach us to raise our consciousness to the upper chakras. That, in a sense, is to raise our consciousness to feel that we are with God. It is God's power which is working through us. And then with that consciousness, we come down to the lower chakras and do the activities of the world, remembering it is the power of God. And then we go back to the upper chakras to be with God again. And Guruji reminds us a very simple technique for this is to just watch the breath, which is Kriya Yoga practice in 24 hours, in every moment of the day. In every inhalation, we are to realize that we are with God. In every exhalation, then to think that it is the power of God which is allowing us to work. We do the best, and then we offer the activities back to God. So that is prasāda buddhi. That is the attitude for right action in this new year as we look forward from the first day of the year. I hope that all of you will contemplate on this verse in your own manner. You will take a moment to understand this verse in your own way, and then look at your life differently. Look at your life as the glory of God. Do not be deterred by the difficulties. God has designed this for us. He is working through us, just as a goldsmith, puts the gold into fire and beats it with a hammer to shape it into a beautiful ornament. God is working through us to design our life for a beautiful future ahead. So do accept the result situation as the glory of God. Think of God in every action and offer every action back to God. I'll end this segment with a prayer, which we are very familiar with this. We chant this prayer during the evening arati in our ashrams. All of you are familiar with this, which exemplifies prasāda buddhi, or this attitude of doing things in God consciousness. We'll close our eyes for a moment. Kayena vacha, through the body and speech. Manasendriyerva, through the mind and sense organs. Buddhyatmanava, through our intellect. Prakriter swabhavat, through our nature or habit. Karomi yadyat, whatever I do or will do. Sakalam parasmai, all of that. Narayanayate samarpayami, I surrendered all of that to you. May my thoughts always be anchored on you. May my activities be an offering. May my life be a dedicated one. I pray to God and Gurus to bless us all, that God allows us to understand this play of life, that we realize that every situation is made for us to evolve from here. Let us always feel the presence of God in our life. Let us do all actions in our life only for God, not for our material desires, not to please anyone else. Let us do all the activities in righteousness. Let us fulfill the duties to the body that God has given us through right hygiene, right diet, and right exercise. Let us fulfill our duties to the mind by educating it and treating it consciousness. Let us fulfill our duties to the soul through prayer and meditation. And let us always realize that these activities, these actions, are only to please God, are only for us to realize God in the end. I thank you all for joining this talk, and pray that the new year and every day is beautiful, is fruitful, and full of bliss and happiness. We have a few moments still in the call. We will finish this talk with a general guided meditation. Those of you at home may continue with your meditation on this auspicious day. So let us close our eyes. Wherever you are, just be comfortable. Relax. But just keep the spine straight. Focus your attention in the middle of the eyebrows. A deep concentration there. This is Ajna Chakra, the door to the divine kingdom. This is where, if we contemplate, if we withdraw our attention, we will find God within our own selves. The last verse of the Gita summarizes the entire Gita by saying, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara, Tatra Sri Vijaya Bhuti Dhruva Niti Matir Mama. Where there is Lord Krishna, where there is Arjuna, when they are together, there lies opulence, peace, prosperity. There lies the success of life. God is within us. To try and perceive that we are always with God. To help in that search, just let aside all thoughts and worries of this world, of our life. They are our own actions, the results of those, designed by God in a beautiful manner, that we can deal with them. God is watching us deal with them, showing us how to deal with them. Just watch your breath. Every inhalation, every exhalation. The breath is going in, the breath is coming out. Effortless. Who is drawing this breath? That is God within. In every breath, feel closer to God. As the mind gets distracted, gently bring it back to the breath. Calmly watching every breath. Some calmness within. Maybe you can hear the sound of silence within. Is that the whisper of God? Is God reminding us always, I am with you? Perceive every moment as the glory of that God. Now take a slow, long, and deep inhalation. Hold your breath and gently bend forward a bit, head towards your knees, and exhale. Back to conscious breathing again, just watching the breath. The head is down a bit in humility, in a prayer, in gratitude to God. God, I have done so much without realizing that it was you who was giving me the power to do all of this. I have been ignorant. I have felt the pride that I have done these. I realize as I contemplate on your teachings, it was all you. My entire life is your glory. It's a gift from you, which has laid out all the good and bad karmas in such a beautiful manner so that I can go forward from here. Nobody to blame, nothing to be proud of. It is all your glory. Take another deep, long inhalation. And gently sit back up. And exhale. Normal conscious breathing again. Still watching the breath. But now we will do a practice of pranayama, more deliberate breath control. For a few minutes, we will take slow, long, deep inhalations and slow, long, deep exhalations. In every inhalation, feel the gratitude, the peace that you are with God. And in every exhalation, feel the joy that the power of God is allowing you to work. And to surrender all the fruits of your action to God. Inhale deep peace. Exhale joy, love. Inhale peace. Exhale love. Inhale peace, gratitude, love. Exhale joy, fulfillment, love. Inhale, you are with God. Exhale, God is working through you, watching you. Inhale, exhale. Now bring back the attention to the middle of the eyebrows. Normal conscious breathing again. Go deeper inside the cave of the head. Some sensation there. Peace, calmness. You're just sitting next to God there. Forget every thought. Nothing to do. Nothing to worry. You are with God. Merge into that feeling in silent meditation. Bring the attention back to the middle of the eyebrows and start watching the breath again. Calmness within. A sense of stillness. Our gurus say, be still and realize you are with God. You are God. At the start of this new year, I pray to God and gurus. I pray that they give us the wisdom to realize we are always with them and to dedicate every action, every thought, every word only to them. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhaved. May all be happy. May all be healthy. May all have auspiciousness in their lives. Praying to God and gurus to bless us all. I bow to God and gurus for this opportunity. I thank you in gratitude for joining this morning for this discussion, and bow to the living presence of God in all of you. Om. Amen. Thank you all. God bless you all.